Have you ever wondered if the universe around you is actually responding to your thoughts in real time? Because every time you think a thought, every time you feel a strong emotion, something invisible happens, something most people will never understand. Right now, you're surrounded by an infinite ocean of energy, a living field of possibility, and your mind is the instrument shaping it. But there are forces that don't want you to know this. Not governments, not corporations. Something deeper, ancient paradigms designed to keep you small. The truth has been hidden in quantum physics, in suppressed spiritual texts, and in whispers from mystics who dared to speak too soon. After decades of research, what I found changes everything. Not just the science, but the implication. Because once you realize how the quantum field actually works, you can start to reshape your life in ways that seem impossible to everyone else. You can close this video now and keep believing that reality is fixed, that life just happens to you, or you can open your mind to a power so profound, so undeniable, that your entire existence begins to shift. Because the secret is this: you're not observing the universe, you're creating it. Reality isn't solid. It only appears that way because you've been trained to believe in a fixed world, a world of objects, of limitations, of things that exist independently of you. But what if I told you that beneath all of this, beneath the sounds, the textures, the people and places, there is no thing at all? Just energy, just vibration, just potential. Quantum field theory doesn't describe a universe filled with stuff. It describes a universe made entirely of fields. Invisible oceans of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Every particle you think is solid, every object you can see or touch is just a ripple, a temporary excitation in a much larger field. There are no boundaries in this model, no true separations. What you call your body and what you call the world are both just movements in the same unified sea. And here's where it gets even more astonishing. Those movements respond to you. You are not outside the equation. You are the equation. Right now, your consciousness, your awareness, your thoughts, your emotional state is interacting with this field and shaping what materializes in your experience. You're not passively watching life unfold. You are the field, collapsing into form through observation, through focus, through belief. Think about the famous double-slit experiment. Light behaves like a wave when unobserved, infinite probabilities spreading through space. But the moment it's observed, it collapses into a particle, into one specific outcome. Observation doesn't just affect reality, it selects it. That's not some spiritual metaphor, that's physics. So now, ask yourself, what are you observing into existence with your thoughts, with your fears, with your expectations? Because every time you expect the worst, worry about failure or doubt your worth, you're giving those possibilities energy. You're choosing them from the infinite. But it works the other way too. When you shift your focus to joy, to gratitude, to abundance, when you embody the feeling of already having what you desire, you start resonating with a different part of the field, one where that version of you already exists, one where your life reflects what you've become on the inside. The energy that makes up your body is not isolated from the energy that makes up the stars. It's all one field, one vast interconnected network of vibration. And your consciousness is not sitting inside your skull looking out at the world. It's embedded in the field itself. It's everywhere. You've been taught to see yourself as a separate self, a mind trapped in a body navigating a cold external universe. But that's not the truth. That's the illusion. The deeper truth is that the outside world is arising within your awareness, not the other way around. Everything you experience is a reflection of consciousness, not someone else's, yours. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop blaming the world for what shows up in your life. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance. You start realizing that your inner state, your energy, your focus, your intention is the root cause of every event, every outcome, every relationship. And this isn't about positive thinking. This isn't about pretending to be happy while you're suffering. This is about alignment. emotional coherence, frequency. Because the quantum field responds not to what you say but to what you mean, to the signal you emit from your heart, from your nervous system, from your cells. Your body is a transmitter, a tuning fork, and when it vibrates at the frequency of trust, of expansion, of infinite possibility, the field reflects that. You start noticing synchronicities, opportunities seem to appear from nowhere, old blocks begin to dissolve not because you fought them but because you stopped identifying with the version of you who created them. You've probably felt this before, those moments where everything just clicks, where you're in flow, where life feels almost too good to be true. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. It's your natural state, when you're not resisting your own power. And yet, most people live their entire lives reacting to shadows. They wake up and think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, expect the same outcomes, and the universe obliges. Not because it's punishing them, but because it's listening, reflecting, matching. This is why manifestation isn't about trying to get something, it's about becoming someone whose frequency matches the reality they desire. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And right now you are being invited to remember who you are beneath the programming, beneath the fear, beneath the illusion of separation. You are not a fragment of the universe, you are the entire thing, waking up to itself through the lens of a human life. And when you finally step out of the small self, the version of you that believes in limitation, lack, and effort, you begin to feel something much deeper stirring within you, a knowing, a power, a stillness that doesn't need to force anything, because it knows everything is already connected. Neville Goddard said it best: change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. That's not poetry, that's quantum law, because the moment you shift your inner frequency, you are literally shifting into a different configuration of the field, a different version of reality, a parallel timeline. And this is happening whether you're conscious of it or not. Every decision, every thought, every belief is a vote for the version of the universe you inhabit next. You're not waiting on the world to change, the world is waiting on you to choose. And choice isn't something you make once, it's a vibration you hold moment by moment, not with your mind alone, but with your whole being. Reality isn't solid. It only appears that way because you've been trained to believe in a fixed world, a world of objects, of limitations, of things that exist independently of you. But what if I told you that beneath all of this, beneath the sounds, the textures, the people and places, there is no thing at all? Just energy. Just vibration. Just potential. Quantum field theory doesn't describe a universe filled with stuff, it describes a universe made entirely of fields. Invisible oceans of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Every particle you think is solid, every object you can see or touch, is just a ripple, a temporary excitation in a much larger field. There are no boundaries in this model, no true separations. What you call your body and what you call the world are both just movements in the same unified sea. And here's where it gets even more astonishing. Those movements respond to you. You are not outside the equation, you are the equation. Right now, your consciousness, your awareness, your thoughts, your emotional state is interacting with this field and shaping what materializes in your experience. You're not passively watching life unfold. You are the field collapsing into form through observation, through focus, through belief. Think about the famous double-slit experiment. Light behaves like a wave when unobserved, infinite probabilities spreading through space. But the moment it's observed, it collapses into a particle, into one specific outcome. Observation doesn't just affect reality, it selects it. That's not some spiritual metaphor. So now, ask yourself, what are you observing into existence with your thoughts, with your fears, with your expectations? Because every time you expect the worst, worry about failure or doubt your worth, you're giving those possibilities energy. You're choosing them from the infinite. But it works the other way too. When you shift your focus to joy, to gratitude, to abundance, when you embody the feeling of already having what you desire, you start resonating with a different part of the field, one where that version of you already exists, one where your life reflects what you've become on the inside. The energy that makes up your body is not isolated from the energy that makes up the stars. It's all one field, one vast interconnected network of vibration. And your consciousness is not sitting inside your skull looking out at the world, it's embedded in the field itself. It's everywhere. You've been taught to see yourself as a separate self, a mind trapped in a body navigating a cold external universe. But that's not the truth. That's the illusion. The deeper truth is that the outside world is arising within your awareness, not the other way around. Everything you experience is a reflection of consciousness, not someone else's, yours. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop blaming the world for what shows up in your life. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance. You start realizing that your inner state, your energy, your focus, your intention, is the root cause of every event, every outcome, every relationship. And this isn't about positive thinking. This isn't about pretending to be happy while you're suffering. This is about alignment, emotional coherence, frequency. Because the quantum field responds not to what you say, but to what you mean, to the signal you emit from your heart, from your nervous system, from your cells. Your body is a transmitter, a tuning fork. And when it vibrates at the frequency of trust, of expansion, of infinite possibility, the field reflects that. You start noticing synchronicities. Opportunities seem to appear from nowhere. Old blocks begin to dissolve, not because you fought them, but because you stopped identifying with the version of you who created them. You've probably felt this before. Those moments where everything just clicks, where you're in flow, where life feels almost too good to be true. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. It's your natural state, when you're not resisting your own power. And yet most people live their entire lives reacting to shadows. They wake up and think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, expect the same outcomes, and the universe obliges, not because it's punishing them, but because it's listening, reflecting, matching. This is why manifestation isn't about trying to get something, it's about becoming someone whose frequency matches the reality they desire. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And right now you are being invited to remember who you are beneath the programming, beneath the fear, beneath the illusion of separation. You are not a fragment of the universe, you are the entire thing, waking up to itself through the lens of a human life. And when you finally step out of the small self, the version of you that believes in limitation, lack, and effort, you begin to feel something much deeper stirring within you, a knowing, a power, a stillness that doesn't need to force anything, because it knows everything is already connected. Neville Goddard said it best: change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. That's not poetry, that's quantum law. Because the moment you shift your inner frequency, you are literally shifting into a different configuration of the field, a different version of reality, a parallel timeline. And this is happening whether you're conscious of it or not. Every decision, every thought, every belief is a vote for the version of the universe you inhabit next. You're not waiting on the world to change, the world is waiting on you to choose. And choice isn't something you make once, it's a vibration you hold, moment by moment. Not with your mind alone, but with your whole being. You are a frequency being, made of energy, thought, and emotion, and everything in your reality is responding to that signal, whether you realize it or not. The reason you don't see change instantly isn't because it's not working. It's because most of your energy is tied to a story you keep repeating, the story of who you think you are, of what's realistic, of what's possible. But what if you stopped telling that story? What if you paused just long enough to let go of your past identity and feel the truth of your power underneath it? Because beneath the doubts, beneath the habits and inherited beliefs, there's something vast and untouched inside you, the part of you that has always been aware, the part that was there before the labels, before the fears, before the world told you what to be. That still, eternal presence within you isn't separate from the quantum field, it is the field. And when you recognize that, you realize there's no real distance between who you are and what you want, only a frequency gap, a signal mismatch. And the moment you bring your inner state into harmony with your desire, the external world begins to shift. You've heard the phrase, as within, so without, but now it takes on deeper meaning, because you understand that your inner reality isn't just influencing the outer, it's creating it. You are the lens through which possibility becomes form, the projector, not the screen, the cause, not the effect. And in every moment you are choosing, either consciously or unconsciously, which version of the universe you'll step into next. Most people are stuck in unconscious creation. They think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, and live the same day over and over, expecting something to change. But nothing changes until you change, until you elevate your baseline frequency, not for a few minutes during meditation, but as a way of being, as your natural state, because the field doesn't respond to what you visit, it responds to what you embody. So ask yourself, what am I embodying right now? Am I living from my past or my potential, from my fear or my future? Because you can't hold the vibration of fear and expect to manifest freedom. You can't carry doubt and receive clarity. You can't be loyal to your limitations and still claim to be aligned with your expansion. This is why self-awareness is so powerful, because the more conscious you become of your patterns, your reactions, your energy, the more you reclaim your creative power. And when you reclaim that power, you stop begging the universe to give you something, and you begin declaring yourself as the one who chooses. Everything you desire is already in the field. Every timeline, every breakthrough, every healed version of you. But the access point isn't outside of you, it's within. You don't have to chase it. You have to match it. Feel the version of you who already has it. What do they believe about themselves? How do they speak? How do they move through the world? You don't need to know the how. The quantum field will organize the path. Your only job is to become a vibrational match. To think, feel, and act as the future version of you, not later, now. Because if you're always waiting for the money, the relationship, the clarity, the permission, you're broadcasting lack. You're telling the field that it's not here yet. And the field, being the perfect mirror that it is, says, okay. But the moment you shift, the moment you stop chasing and start embodying, something changes, not just in your mind, but in your energy, in your heart, in your breath, in the space around you. You start radiating a different signal, and suddenly, the same world begins to respond in very different ways. This is what mystics called awakening, not to some otherworldly power, but to the truth of your own being, to the knowing that everything is connected and everything is consciousness, expressing itself in infinite forms. Even science is catching up. Studies in quantum biology and heart coherence in epigenetics, they all point to the same thing. You're not fixed, you're not stuck, you're not at the mercy of your DNA or your past. You are a living, vibrating expression of potential. And the more you recognize that, the more flexible reality becomes. This is why presence is so powerful, because in the present moment the past can't touch you, the future doesn't control you. There's only now, the field of all possibility. And what you choose to focus on in this moment determines what you'll see next. Focus is creation, attention is currency. Wherever you invest it, energy flows, and that energy begins to form the world you walk into. This is why distractions are dangerous, not because they're evil, but because they steal your power, they fragment your frequency, they scatter your intention. But when you reclaim your focus, when you gather your energy back into yourself, you become magnetic, potent, clear, and the universe responds. This is also why emotional mastery matters, because emotions are energy in motion. They are the language the field understands. You can't fake your vibration. You can't trick the universe with empty affirmations. It doesn't hear your words, it feels your state. So elevate your state, not by forcing joy, but by releasing the resistance, by breathing, by relaxing into trust, by allowing yourself to feel the truth of who you are, even for a moment. That's enough to shift everything, because a single moment of true alignment can undo years of struggle. You don't need to fight your old identity, you just need to stop feeding it, stop rehearsing it, stop waking up each day and unconsciously playing out the same loops. You are not your habits, you are not your past, you are not your name, your story, or even your body. You are the field, aware of itself. And once you know that, once you feel that, your life begins to move differently. You speak with intention, you walk with certainty. You breathe as if every breath is creating worlds. And in a way it is. Because in this game of creation, the most powerful move you can make is to remember that you are not waiting on the universe. The universe is waiting on you. You were never meant to live by default. You were meant to live by design, and not by someone else's design, not by society's rules or inherited beliefs, but by your own. You are the architect of your frequency, the coder of your timeline, the dreamer and the dream. And once you begin to live that way, deliberately, consciously, you realize that life has always been waiting for you to show up as your true self. Not the version that's edited to fit in, not the version that plays small to stay safe, but the version of you that knows who they are, the one that remembers. Because this remembering is not learning something new, it's uncovering what's always been there. It's peeling back the layers of conditioning until only truth remains. The truth that you are awareness itself, that the universe is not something you look at, it's something that arises through you. And the field you've been trying to reach, it's you. It's not out there, it never was. You are the unified field, localized in form, temporarily appearing as a person but never bound by that appearance. And the more you let go of the illusion that you are just this body, just this name, just this mind, the more you expand into what's always been true, that you are infinite, that you are eternal, that you are the field looking at itself through a set of eyes and forgetting just long enough to rediscover the miracle. And that rediscovery is what you came here for. Not just to have things, not just to achieve goals, but to wake up to the truth of creation itself. To remember that your thoughts are not private. They're waves, they travel, they ripple into the field and return to you, shaped into form. That's why what you believe becomes your experience, not because belief is magic, but because belief is vibration. When you believe something deeply enough, you no longer question it. You live it, you embody it, and embodiment is the language of reality. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your dominant vibration. You have to update the signal you're sending out with every breath, every decision, every silent assumption. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to be it. The field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are when no one's watching. It responds to your essence, your tone, your certainty. And here's where most people get stuck. They try to think their way into a new reality while feeling the same old emotions. But the field isn't listening to your surface-level thoughts. It's listening to your frequency. And frequency is emotional, it's energetic, it's embodied. You can't outthink a low vibration. You have to feel your way higher. And you don't do that by pretending, you do that by tuning in, by noticing what brings your body into expansion, by choosing thoughts that soften you, emotions that uplift you, environments that mirror your potential, not your past. Because everything is frequency. Your relationships, your health, your finances, your purpose, they're not separate categories. They're all reflections of the signal you're tuned to. Change the signal and the picture changes. You've been doing this all along. The only difference now is that you're doing it on purpose. And that's where the power is. In the knowing, in the intention, in the choice. So choose with your entire being. Choose the timeline where you feel safe, free, abundant. Choose the version of you who walks in alignment, not because it's easy, but because it's true. And truth always vibrates higher than fear. Truth doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for approval, it resonates, it moves in silence and speaks through presence. And when you're aligned with it, you don't need to convince anyone. Your life becomes the evidence. Your energy becomes the invitation. That's what true manifestation looks like. It's not the house, the car, the status. It's waking up every day in a state of knowing. Knowing that you are the field. Knowing that nothing outside of you can define what you experience. Knowing that when you shift, everything else follows. Because it has to. The laws are precise. Just like gravity doesn't stop working when you're unaware of it, the quantum field is always responding, always mirroring, always listening. So the real question is, what story are you telling it? Are you telling it that life is hard, that love is rare, that abundance is reserved for other people? Or are you telling it a new story? One where you are worthy, magnetic and free. One where you trust the process, even when it's not linear. Because transformation isn't always comfortable. Sometimes you have to lose who you thought you were to make space for who you really are. Sometimes the old timelines crumble. The people who matched your past vibration drift away. The habits that once numbed you no longer satisfy. And that's not a failure, that's an upgrade. That's the universe clearing space for the version of you you're becoming. So, don't resist the unraveling. Don't panic when things fall apart. Let them. Let the false identities dissolve. Let the borrowed beliefs fall. Let the version of you that was built on survival rest. You're not here to survive. You're here to remember, to awaken, to create from the seat of awareness, to breathe reality into form. And you do that not through effort, but through embodiment, through being, not becoming, being. Right now, not later. Because every time you put it off, you're reinforcing the illusion that it's not already here, that you are not already whole, that you need more healing, more validation, more time. But you don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is this: you are not separate from anything you desire. You are not reaching for it. You are revealing it. The frequency already exists. The version of you who lives it already exists. And your only job is to meet them. To walk into that version with your chest open, your heart clear, and your mind unburdened. To step across the threshold, not with desperation, but with certainty. Because you've seen through the illusion, and once you've seen it, you can never unsee it. The game has changed. And so have you. Once you see that you're the one collapsing reality into form, you begin to move differently. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop begging and start aligning. You stop trying to control outcomes and instead embody the version of you who already lives in the outcome you desire. And suddenly, without forcing it, without needing to manipulate the external world, reality begins to shift. Because the shift isn't happening out there, it's happening within you. The outer is just catching up to the signal you've upgraded inside. This is what it means to live consciously. Not perfectly, not always joyfully, but aware. Aware of the frequency you're in. Aware of how your thoughts feel. Aware of the energy behind your decisions. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being honest, present, intimate with your own awareness. Because when you live like this, life stops being something you chase. It becomes something you dance with. You move in rhythm with it. You trust its timing. You trust your own intuition. And even when you don't know what's coming next, you know you're being guided. Not by fate, but by vibration. You can feel it. When something is aligned, it opens you. Your chest relaxes. Your mind softens. The path feels like it's rising to meet your feet. And when something is misaligned, it contracts you. It tightens your body. It dims your energy. Your intuition doesn't speak in words. It speaks through sensation, through resonance, through subtle frequency changes in your own being. And if you learn to listen, you'll never be lost. Because the field is always responding. It's a living feedback loop. You send a signal through your state of being, and the universe mirrors it back in the form of people, opportunities, challenges, lessons. All of it is communication. All of it is energy in motion. And the more you learn to read it, not through your logical mind, but through your inner knowing, the more magical life becomes. Not because it's perfect, not because nothing ever goes wrong, but because even the chaos has meaning. Even the delays have intelligence. Even the pain becomes part of your awakening. You stop asking, why is this happening to me, and start asking, what is this showing me about the frequency I've been in? You stop needing external proof before you believe, and start believing in a way that makes the proof inevitable. And yes, the world will still reflect contrast. You'll still be challenged. But you'll meet those challenges from a different place, not as a victim, but as a creator, not with resistance, but with curiosity. Not trying to escape the moment, but deepening into it. Because when you know you're the field in form, nothing is wasted, no emotion is wrong, no detour is meaningless, everything becomes usable, everything becomes alchemical, every part of your journey becomes part of your awakening. And in that awareness there's freedom. You begin to feel it in the small things, the way you breathe in the morning, the way you walk into a room, the way you speak to yourself when no one else can hear. You notice the subtle moments where you used to abandon yourself, chasing validation, people-pleasing, overthinking. And now you pause, you return, you choose again, you vibrate differently. And that difference compounds. The more you choose alignment, the more momentum you build. The more you feel grounded in your truth, the less you need external validation. You stop needing the world to reflect back your worthiness because you feel it as your natural state. You begin to live from overflow. You begin to give without depletion. You begin to love without fear. Because you're not pulling from a limited self anymore. You're pulling from the field, from source, from the infinite awareness that has no beginning and no end. And in that connection you realize something sacred. You don't need to hustle for what's already yours. You don't need to chase what's already seeking you. You just need to stop interfering. You need to get out of the way. Not inaction, not passivity, but surrendered alignment, trusting that the field is intelligent, that consciousness knows the way, that your desires are not random, they're invitations. Invitations into a new frequency, into a new timeline, into a new you. And that version of you, the one who already has the thing, who already lives the life, is not somewhere far away. They're right here, one choice away, one breath, one decision to stop reacting to the old and start responding from the new. And every time you do, reality shifts, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always, because frequency is law. And when you hold the frequency of your future long enough, it becomes your present. And that's the real secret. You don't wait for the evidence, you become the evidence. You don't beg for the reality, you embody the reality. You become so fully, so energetically saturated in the version of you that already exists in the field, that the universe has no choice but to conform. Because it's never been against you, it's always been reflecting you. Even the parts you've tried to hide, even the patterns you swore weren't yours, all of it mirrored back so you could see. So you could remember, so you could choose again. And now, you are choosing. You're choosing to shift the frequency, to own your energy, to speak new thoughts into existence and let the old ones dissolve without resistance. You're choosing to remember that nothing is set, that nothing is fixed, that every moment is another chance to realign, to recalibrate, to re-enter the timeline that matches your highest self. You don't need to earn that timeline, you just need to match it with your breath, with your belief, with your being. And when you do, you become magnetic, not because you're trying to attract, but because you are aligned. And that alignment, it does all the work. You are magnetic by nature. You've simply forgotten how to feel your own gravity. The truth is, you've never been separate from the life you want. You've only been tuned to a different signal. And now you're remembering how to change the station. Not by force, not by hustle, but by tuning your internal dial to match the reality that's been waiting for you all along. That's the power of resonance. When you resonate with love, love flows to you. When you resonate with clarity, confusion fades. When you resonate with peace, the noise of the world loses its grip. You don't have to chase what belongs to your frequency, you simply receive it as a natural response from the field. Because the quantum field is exact, it never skips a beat, it never makes a mistake, it simply delivers the energetic match of what you are being right now. And that's the shift. From trying to control life from the outside in, to remembering that all power flows from the inside out. When you change your internal state, you change the entire world you perceive. It's like putting on a new lens and suddenly everything looks different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that's the thing no one teaches you growing up. That your reality is a mirror, not a measurement. That it doesn't tell you who you are. It reflects back who you're being. You're not at the mercy of what happens around you. You're in constant conversation with it. You're in communion. Even the things you resist, even the patterns you don't like, even the circumstances you wish would go away, they're not punishments, they're echoes. Echoes of old signals, bouncing back to give you a chance to shift, to choose again, to release the old vibration and step into something new. And when you stop taking those reflections personally, when you stop seeing them as evidence of your worth and start seeing them as feedback from the field, everything changes. You become emotionally sovereign. You stop being tossed around by every external trigger. You stop leaking energy trying to fix the mirror, and instead you change the source, the vibration you're emitting. And here's what's beautiful. The moment you change your signal, the reflection begins to shift. Sometimes instantly, sometimes gradually, but always. And the more you relax into that truth, the faster it happens, because resistance slows the field, it distorts the signal. But trust clears the static. It opens the channel, it lets the field flow freely. And that flow? It's what you've been craving all along. Not just results, but alignment. Not just manifestation, but embodiment. That sense of harmony between your inner world and your outer experience, where your desires don't feel far away, they feel inevitable, natural, because they are. You were never meant to fight for your dreams, you were meant to become them, to embody the version of you who already lives inside that vision. Not someday, now, because the quantum field doesn't respond to time, it responds to truth, and the more you embody the truth of your future in the present, the faster that future becomes your reality. This is why imagination is sacred, because it's not fantasy, it's frequency access, it's how you sample timelines, it's how you visit new realities before they materialize. When you imagine vividly, emotionally, with full sensory detail, your body doesn't know the difference. Your nervous system starts responding as if it's happening now, and the field begins organizing around that vibration. You don't have to see it to believe it, you have to believe it to see it. Because belief isn't mental, it's energetic. It's a posture of certainty, a feeling of already, a state of yes. And when you live in that yes, when your energy says, "This is who I am," before the world reflects it, the world eventually catches up. So breathe into that version of you, the one who already feels the freedom, the love, the purpose, the expansion. How do they think? How do they walk? How do they respond when life gets uncertain? Tune to that, feel it, amplify it, and know that every time you do, you're shifting the field around you. It may not look different immediately, but on the energetic level, everything has changed. The dominoes are falling, the timelines are rearranging, the reality you used to live in can no longer find you, because you're not a match anymore. And as you hold that new frequency, even when the old world knocks at your door, even when your senses try to convince you nothing is changing, you smile. Because you know the truth. You're not reacting to what is. You're responding to what's becoming. And what's becoming is you, fully expressed, fully empowered, fully awake to your role in this cosmic dance. You are not here to play small. You are not here to shrink yourself to fit into outdated systems or other people's limitations. You are here to remember the magnitude of your own creative power, to remember that you are not just a participant in the quantum field, you are a living extension of it. You are the field made visible, and your awareness is the force that collapses the infinite into the specific. Which means, you don't need to be afraid of uncertainty. You are the one choosing which version of the unknown becomes your next moment. Every time you enter the unknown with trust, with presence, with love, you shape it, you command it. You pull from the infinite possibilities the one that matches your vibration most purely. That is your gift, that is your birthright. Not just to survive reality, but to compose it. To play with the field as a conscious creator. To wake up in the morning and ask not what will happen to me today, but what frequency will I hold today and what will that frequency call forth? Because the moment you hold the frequency of love, the field begins delivering experiences that reflect love. When you hold abundance, life reflects abundance. When you hold clarity, confusion dissolves. And when you hold power, not as domination but as presence, the world shifts around your presence. You become the axis point of change, not because you're special, but because you remembered. You remembered that energy is first, that consciousness is primary, that the real shift was never in your circumstances, it was always in your state. And the moment your state changes, the quantum field listens. And it always says yes. Every thought you think, every feeling you allow, every belief you hold is a transmission. And that transmission doesn't just float into empty space. It connects, it binds, it calls back to you a reflection of itself. This is the essence of quantum creation, not as philosophy, but as physics. The observer collapses the field. Your attention, your awareness, your intention. These are not passive. They are forces. And the universe does not resist. It responds. So the question becomes, what are you instructing the field to become through you? Not just with your words, but with your energy, because energy never lies. The universe doesn't listen to what you pretend to feel. It listens to what you truly vibrate. And when there's a gap between what you say and what you are, the field always chooses what you are, not to punish you, but to match you perfectly, faithfully, consistently. And that's why this power is sacred. Because it means you are never stuck. You're never waiting. You're never without a choice. You're always shaping, always influencing, always aligning with one frequency or another, whether you're aware of it or not. But the moment you become aware, you reclaim the steering wheel. You stop living as an unconscious echo and start living as a deliberate creator. And this is where the game of life begins to transform. When you stop reacting and start selecting. When you stop asking for signs and become the sign. When you stop chasing the dream and realize you already are it, vibrating in the unseen, drawing it toward you like gravity. You don't have to earn what already exists. You don't have to deserve what's already yours. You simply have to become compatible, resonant, available to receive it without resistance. And resistance most of the time is subtle. It hides in doubt. It wears the mask of logic. It whispers things like, be realistic, or you've tried this before, or people like you don't get that kind of life. But those voices aren't truth. They're echoes, fragments of old vibrations trying to keep you tethered to an outdated version of yourself. And you get to decide, do I keep feeding that version, or do I let it dissolve? Do I keep vibrating with that past timeline, or do I step into the unknown and attune myself to something higher? The unknown is where all possibility lives. It's the dimension beyond what you've experienced before. And stepping into it means you can no longer cling to what was. You must surrender who you've been to allow who you truly are to emerge. And that's not loss. That's expansion. That's evolution. The caterpillar doesn't mourn its old form when it becomes the butterfly. It simply unfolds into what it was always meant to be, and you too are in the process of unfolding, of remembering, of returning to your original blueprint. pure, creative, aware, aligned. You didn't come here to play small. You didn't come here to repeat patterns. You came here to remember your nature, as a frequency conductor, as a being of intention and vibration, as the consciousness through which reality itself awakens. And that awakening isn't a one-time moment. It's a continuous choice, a constant tuning, a remembering that happens breath by breath, thought by thought, vibration by vibration. So tune in. Right now, even as you hear these words, feel into the stillness beneath the mind, the awareness that's never changed, the space inside you that's been watching, feeling, knowing long before any label or story ever took hold. That awareness is your true nature. It's not bound by thought. It's not shaped by the past. It's infinite, untouched, always present. And that awareness is the doorway to the field. Because when you rest in it, even for a moment, you stop reacting, you stop grasping, you stop trying to control, and instead you start to listen, you start to feel. And what you feel, when you really allow it, is not lack, not fear, not urgency. What you feel is possibility. What you feel is presence. What you feel is home.
That's the energy the field responds to the fastest. Presence. Presence is power. Not loud, not forceful, but magnetic. It pulls, it draws, it harmonizes reality without effort. Not because you're trying, but because you're attuned. You've felt it before. Those moments where everything lined up, where synchronicities came in waves, where people and events just showed up without explanation. That wasn't luck. That was resonance, that was coherence, that was you in alignment with your highest frequency, walking in harmony with the field. And the more you practice that state, not once, but daily, moment by moment, the more natural it becomes. It becomes your new normal, your new baseline. And from that baseline, everything changes. You speak differently. You move differently. You carry yourself like someone who knows, not just intellectually, but viscerally. You don't doubt your worth anymore. You don't question whether things will work out. You don't chase what you already feel within. You hold the vibration, and the field mirrors it. And it's not always about instant results. Sometimes the shift is subtle. Sometimes it's the way people respond to you, the way new opportunities arise, the way things that used to drain you now fall away without resistance. That's alignment. That's the quantum recalibrating itself to match your internal state. And it never stops. The field is always moving, always adjusting, always evolving with you, because you are not separate from it. You are the field experiencing itself as thought, as form, as life.
So let yourself feel that. Let it sink in. You are not just part of the universe, you are the universe, focused into a point of awareness, creating new versions of itself with every breath you take. And the more you align with that truth, not as a concept but as a lived state, the more effortless everything becomes. You stop forcing, you start flowing. You stop doubting, you start knowing. You stop contracting, you start expanding. And life responds in kind. Because this is not about believing in magic. This is about becoming it. Magic isn't an event, it's a frequency. It's the energetic signature of someone who remembers. Someone who lives as if they are one with the force that births galaxies, not because they read it in a book, but because they felt it in their bones, in their breath, in the way reality softens around them, in the way doors open without knocking, in the way time bends to their intention. That's resonance. You've already had glimpses of it. You've felt those moments where everything clicks, where you're so deeply in tune with life that it feels like it's moving through you, not around you. Those aren't accidents. They are previews of your natural state, before the noise, before the doubt, before the conditioning trained you to forget. And now you're remembering, not because someone told you to, but because something inside of you won't settle for anything less. You can feel the old timeline collapsing. You can feel the illusion dissolving. You're not interested in performing anymore. You're not here to pretend to be powerless. That part of your story is ending, and something ancient is rising up in its place.
It's not loud, it doesn't scream, it doesn't push. It's quiet, it's steady. It's the subtle knowing in your chest that you were always more than the world taught you to be, that you were never meant to fit in, that you came here not just to witness creation, but to participate in it, to shape it with your vibration, to mold it with your focus, to move it with your energy.
And energy doesn't lie. Energy is truth. It tells you everything you need to know if you're willing to feel it, not just think about it. Feel it, because your thoughts create the blueprint, but your feelings give it life. And the field doesn't build with ideas, it builds with frequency. So the question is, what are you feeling right now? Not what you want to feel, not what you think you should feel, but what's alive in you, because that is the frequency you're casting into the field. That is the vibration shaping your next moment. And if that frequency feels off, if it feels tight or out of sync, that's not a failure, that's feedback. That's the field whispering, realign, recenter, remember. Your emotions are not enemies, they are indicators, guides, signals. The more you listen, the more you learn, not from fear but from presence, from deep self-honoring. You don't need to fight your emotions to shift your frequency. You need to feel them fully, without becoming them. You are not your sadness, you are not your anxiety. You are the space that holds them, the presence they move through, and that presence, your true self, has never been out of alignment, it's just been waiting for you to return. And every return is a recalibration. Every breath back into the now is a reset point. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, awareness over judgment, truth over performance, the field responds. Not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. You synchronized with the rhythm that was always pulsing underneath the noise. And that rhythm, that is creation itself. That is the hum of the quantum field. That is the beat of your own soul. You don't need to look outside yourself to find it. You just need to stop drowning it out with doubt, with comparison, with distraction. This world is loud, but your truth is louder when you listen. And when you do, you begin to realize something radical. You don't need the evidence to believe, you believe, and then the evidence comes. Not because belief changes the facts, but because it changes your frequency. And your frequency determines what facts you have access to. That's how powerful you are. You live in a multiverse, a field of infinite parallel timelines, and each one has its own reality, its own truth, its own version of you. You don't move through time, you move through frequency. And frequency decides which version of the world you wake up in. So if you want a different world, you don't beg for it. You don't wait for it, you tune to it. You match it, you become the version of you who already lives there. That version of you is not an idea, it's not a dream. It's a vibration. It's a set of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that you have full access to right now. And when you choose them consistently with full presence, the quantum field opens like a gate. Reality bends, time collapses, and you shift. Not slowly, instantly. The world just takes a little longer to catch up, but by then you've already changed. You've already embodied it. You've already let go of the need to chase, because you are now radiating the signal of someone who knows. And when you know, when you really know, the need to prove dissolves. The urge to convince others fades. You're not seeking validation anymore. You're not asking the world for permission to be powerful. You're simply living it, quietly, boldly, authentically, moment by moment. And from that place, creation becomes effortless. You stop asking, how will it happen, and start saying, of course it's happening. You stop asking, when will it show up, and start trusting that it's already moving toward you, because it can't not. You are magnetic, not because you're special, but because you're finally in coherence. This is what coherence feels like. Not hype, not drama, not forced excitement, but peace. A calm certainty. A knowing that doesn't need backup. And that knowing is the most magnetic force in the universe. That's the energy that makes timelines bend, that makes people shift, that opens doors without effort.
Because in the quantum field, nothing is more powerful than a human being who remembers who they are. And that's you. Not someday. Now.
Now is the only time you've ever had. The past is a vibration you keep rehearsing. The future is a timeline you keep previewing. But everything real happens now, and right now you are holding a frequency. Right now you are sending a signal. Right now you are either aligned with your truth or with your conditioning. There is no in-between. There is no pause button in creation. The field never stops responding. So if you're waiting to feel ready, if you're waiting for the circumstances to line up first, if you're waiting for something outside of you to confirm your worth, you're going to keep waiting. Because waiting is a vibration, and the field reflects what you are, not what you're hoping for, not what you're praying for, what you're being. And you have the power to shift that in an instant, not by pretending, not by forcing, but by deciding. Deciding to be done with the identity that's been built around your fears. Deciding to stop calling your limits truth. Deciding to release the weight of stories that were never yours to carry in the first place. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to align. And alignment begins with presence, with choosing this moment completely, with dropping into the version of you that already exists in the quantum field, already thriving, already free, already radiating the frequency of everything you've ever longed for. Because it's not longing, it's remembering. That version of you isn't a fantasy, it's your natural state, obscured by layers of survival, programming and forgetting. But even through the fog, your soul remembers, your body remembers, your energy remembers. That's why certain words, certain moments feel electric. That's why something in you stirs when you hear the truth. It's not new, it's familiar. It's ancient, it's you. And the field responds when you come home to yourself. It responds when you let go of the noise. When you silence the inner critic, not by fighting it, but by no longer believing it. When you stop outsourcing your power. When you stop delaying your joy. When you stop asking for permission and realize you were the permission slip all along. The field responds when you become a match for your own light. And the moment you do, things begin to move. The ideas come. The connections appear. The path unfolds not because you finally did the right ritual, but because you finally stopped doubting your own signal. You are not here to get it all perfect. You are not here to follow someone else's blueprint. You are here to feel, to choose, to create in real time. The field is dynamic, so are you. This isn't about locking in one frequency forever. It's about becoming aware of what you're choosing moment to moment. It's about flexibility, awareness, attunement. And the more you live that way, the more alive you feel. The more magic becomes your normal. The more time stretches, contracts, dances with your energy. The more you notice beauty in places you used to overlook. The more you attract people who recognize your energy because you're finally radiating the truth of who you are. You don't find your tribe, you remember your frequency and they find you. You don't chase love, you embody love. And it meets you. You don't force success, you become success. And it rises to match you. That's the quantum, that's the field. That's the real law of attraction. Not wanting, not asking, but becoming, because when you become it, you don't need to search for it. You realize it's always been right here, just waiting for you to stop shrinking, to stop settling, to stop hiding behind a version of you that was never real. There's nothing humble about pretending to be less than what you are. There's nothing safe about staying small. Playing small is a frequency, and you've outgrown it. The field is ready for you to choose something bigger, not just for your sake, but for everyone around you. Because when you rise, you shift the field for all of us. When you heal, you ripple healing through the collective. When you create from alignment, you show others what's possible. You become a living transmission of truth. You become the evidence that alignment is real, that coherence is powerful, that reality isn't something you survive, it's something you shape. And this isn't about being fearless, it's about being courageous. Courage is a frequency too, and when you embody it, when you choose to move even with the fear in your belly and the doubt in your throat, the field meets you there, and it lifts you, it reinforces your signal. Because energy never lies. The field always knows when you're being real. So, be real. Be messy if you need to. Be raw. Be in process. Be becoming. But let it be yours. Let it be honest. Let it be aligned. Because this life, this moment, this breath, it's yours. It's your creation, not a rehearsal, not a test. It's the canvas of your consciousness, and you are the brush, you are the color, you are the movement. You are the artist and the art. And the field? It's the medium, it's the mirror. It's the silent partner in your awakening, waiting, always waiting, to reflect the next version of you that you're brave enough to embody. So ask yourself one final question: what frequency are you willing to hold now? What reality are you ready to merge with? What version of you are you willing to become? Because it's not waiting in the distance. It's already here. It's already you. And the field is listening, always.